Most men say they want higher testosterone, but as soon as I tell them this exercise, the excuses start coming out. My knees hurt, or I won't be able to do that, or my lower back, whatever, or I don't want to get too bulky. And that fear is exactly why their testosterone is stuck below 500, and they're not going to get to 1,000 until they fix that. Here's the truth. Most men don't avoid this exercise because it doesn't work, because it does work, obviously. They avoid it because it's humbling, it's tiring, it's difficult, taxes the nervous system. It obviously taxes the biggest muscles in your entire body. It's not always easy to do. It's uncomfortable. So most guys, they protect their egos instead. They do very comfortable exercises on machines, or they're doing curls or whatever, whilst their endocrine system stays asleep, essentially. Historically, men didn't really have the option to avoid leg dominant full body movements. You know, they were carrying weights, they were squatting naturally, they were standing up 1,000 times a week. It was unavoidable. No man in history was getting to high testosterone by sitting on a bench, doing bicep curls, and expecting that to work. The body has evolved to associate lower body strain to an intense magnitude with reproduction, survival, and dominance. Now, when I analyze the blood work for guys who don't do enough leg training, there's a couple of common themes. Obviously, their testosterone is low, but also the two big ones are SHBG is almost always out of whack, and also insulin sensitivity and HbA1c usually. So that's the blood sugar over a long period of time tends to be too high 9 times out of 10. So when you do the right exercises and you improve the mechanical tension over time, it's not one workout isn't going to do this. It takes a little bit of time, but you increase the training volume as well. These problems tend to fix themselves from a blood work standpoint. So here's the exercise. It's not, obviously it's not doing machine work. You want to do that to follow up. You shouldn't be starting with machine work. It's also not heavy deadlifts or heavy back squats. The problem is, maybe if you're in your 20s, you can do this. If you're in your 40s, 50s, or beyond, the odds of injury, you're going to get injured at some point, especially if you're doing it heavy, your lower back or knees, something's going to give. It's not really a natural movement for the human body. Squatting is, but squatting with 400 pounds on your back isn't natural. You're not wired for it. There's an exercise that's better, especially for your hips, especially for your knees, and also grip, and it's a little more natural. It's heavy dumbbell lunges. When I say heavy dumbbell lunges, obviously this is with good form, glutes, quads, hammies, and you are going, good form comes first. It's about the tension on the muscles. But when I've said dumbbell lunges in the past, in the comment section, there's guys trying to argue saying it's not going to do as much as back squats because you can't lift enough weight. The first thing is back squats and heavy deadlifts. If you get injured and you're out for 3 months, your testosterone is going down, and the risk on those activities, those exercises is too high. Dumbbell lunges will never do this. It's a safer movement. Secondly, you can lift enough weight if you use these things. So knee wraps. It's going to absorb some of the tension there, and as a result, you can lift heavier weights. You don't need to lift massively ridiculous weights. These things will allow you to keep the progressive overload going over the weeks, over the months, and we get into a complicated discussion here, but you can lift enough weight, firstly, and secondly, you can progress for a long period of time, and then you do the deloads, and then you start again. But I'm not going to do a really long video on that. So obviously, these are heavy dumbbell lunges with these. Using good form, which means deep. You need to go low enough. You need to feel the muscular contraction and then go to failure or very close to failure. If you do that for even 2 sets, that is enough to stimulate testosterone release. And you can do that over and over and over and over again without fear of getting some nasty injury that's going to set you back for months and might plague you for the rest of your life. These guys going on about how much they can back squat and deadlift, they're always in their 20s and they're always very, very naive, and they are yet to have a nasty injury, but it will happen at some point if you're going heavy enough and pushing yourself hard enough. And then after these heavy lunges, you then follow up with heavy barbell shrugs or dumbbell shrugs, and really, really hit the traps, the neck, to some extent the shoulders, but the androgen receptors, activating them to a greater extent than even deadlifts. If you can target the muscles around here and the resultant androgen receptors. If you hit them really hard with heavy shrugs for 20 reps to failure, you will feel it in your traps more than if you just did deadlifts. Deadlifts do hit them, but they are a secondary or a tertiary um, muscle. You're not gonna focus on them as much as you will do if you literally just stand there doing shrugs until failure. So you follow up with that, and then machine work if you want to isolate the quads, hamstrings, calves. Calves aren't going to raise your testosterone, but you get the point. You do the machine stuff at the end. Then the next question becomes, how often do you do these? So twice a week, once a week is not ideal. The science is very clear on this, and this is also in line with my anecdotal experience and coaching clients. Once a week isn't ideal. 3 times a week is usually too intense. Again, assuming the guy is not a very genetically gifted 18-year-old, maybe you can get away with 3 times a week there. Most people, twice a week is the sweet spot. And that's assuming you're training very hard to failure, using good technique and good form, and then you do all the machine stuff after. Again, loads of this stuff about training 6 days a week is guys who are on steroids who are giving this advice. You can't take advice from guys that are injecting testosterone and various other things and insulin and growth hormone. It's a completely different universe. It's a bad idea. Natural guys twice a week. Now, if you want to learn more about testosterone workouts, I walked you through an entire workout in this video here. It's more of a complete overview, whereas this just spoke mostly about the exercise. So check that video out. I think you'll find it very useful.